Why did Lorena Ochoa suddenly abandon the sport she once completely dominated? Meet Lorena Ochoa, the girl who was extremely driven to become the greatest player in the history of golf. When she was just a kid, she already knew, "I'm going to be the best golfer the world's ever seen." And just a couple years later, she fulfilled her wildest dreams and became #1 in the world. She got the world at her feet, sponsors throwing money at her, and a career trajectory that's destined for the history books. But then, something totally unexpected happened. Lorena Ochoa retired from golf as world #1. She just quit and never came back. But wait, what? She was on her way to cement her legacy as one of the sport's all-time legends. So why would the most dominant golfer at that time suddenly quit the sport she dedicated her entire life to? Was it burnout? Injury? A dramatic meltdown? Well, one thing's for sure. It wasn't just to start a family, I can say. It all started when she was born in 1981 in Guadalajara, Mexico. Lorena wasn't exactly born with a silver spoon, or should I say a silver golf club, in her mouth. Her dad was in real estate and her mom was an artist. Not exactly a recipe for producing a golfing prodigy, right? But let's fast forward the clock a few years, and we find a pint-sized 5-year-old girl stepping onto the prestigious greens of the Guadalajara Country Club for the first time. That little girl hit a hole-in-one, and just like that, a legend was born. She had this crazy, almost supernatural talent for the game, with more drive than a long par 5. She even won her first state tournament at 6. At that age, most of us were still figuring out how to tie our shoelaces. By the time she hit her teens, Ochoa was turning heads left and right. She caught the eye of Rafael Alarcón, a big-shot Mexican pro golfer. She was only an 11-year-old girl who walked up to one of the country's top golfers and said, "Hey, I want to be the best player in the world, can you help me?" Now, you know how some coaches can be on the green, right? He could have easily just given her a pat on the head and said, "Sure, kid," and then moved on. But Alarcón took one look at her and thought, this girl's got something special. And yeah, was he right? Lorena completely tore through the Mexican junior circuit. She racked up 22 state events and 44 national tournaments before she even was 18 years old. People all over the world were watching her steps and swings, trying to figure out where this young prodigy had come from. Now from here, things really start to blow up. In 2000, Lorena heads off to the University of Arizona on a golf scholarship. And what does she do there? Oh, just casually sets an NCAA record by winning her first 7 events in her sophomore year. No big deal, right? Actually, it's a huge deal. So huge that in 2001, she became the youngest athlete and the first golfer to receive Mexico's prestigious National Sports Award. The award was presented to her by none other than the President of Mexico, Vicente Fox himself. She was making her country immensely proud, and they weren't shy about it, just in case the world needed any more proof that she was destined to be a golfing legend. But after just 2 years, college golf started to feel like a small pond for someone with her talent. So she made a brave decision to skip her final 2 years and turned pro in 2002. Leaving college early to go pro? That's a gamble in any sport. But for Lorena, it was less about risk and more about seizing the enormous potential that awaited her. And was it worth it? How did this decision affect her growth as a player? Well, let's see. Her debut season on the LPGA Tour in 2003 was a resounding success. Starting with the Futures Tour, she claimed 3 victories and dominated the money list, securing her LPGA Tour card for the 2003 season. Once there, she didn't slow down, racking up 8 top 10 finishes, including 2 runner-up spots. And by the end of the season, she was crowned Rookie of the Year and ranked 9th on the LPGA money list. But this was just the beginning of Ochoa's incredible rise to the top of the golfing world. The following year, Ochoa broke through for her first LPGA victories, winning the Franklin American Mortgage Championship and the Wachovia LPGA Classic. She also notched top 10 finishes in 3 of the 4 major championships. In 2006, she had a truly remarkable season, winning 6 tournaments and securing the top spot on the LPGA money list. Her performance reached its peak with a mind-blowing round of 62 at the Kraft Nabisco Championship, where she tied the record for the lowest score ever in a major tournament. Absolutely sensational. Although she lost in a thrilling playoff, it was a sign of the incredible form she was in. Then came 2007. This was the year Lorena Ochoa went from being a really good golfer to absolutely unstoppable. She won her first major championship at the historic Old Course at St. Andrews, the home of golf. This triumph was just the beginning of her dominance in 2007. She went on to win 7 more tournaments that year, including the CN Canadian Women's Open and the Safeway Classic, becoming the first player to win 3 consecutive events since the legendary Annika Sorenstam. Her performances that season were nothing short of breathtaking, as she surpassed Sorenstam to become the world's #1 ranked golfer and became the first woman ever to earn more than $4 million in a single season. How does an athlete maintain such a high level of performance year after year? It's clear she was born for golf, but even the greatest have their Achilles heel. So, what could possibly be the weakness of the world's top player? Well, we never got the chance to find out because, just as Ochoa's star was reaching its peak, just as she was solidifying her spot among the all-time golfing legends, she dropped a bombshell that made the entire golf world break down in tears. Now we are back in April 2010. Lorena calls a press conference in Mexico. She looks happy and waves to the crowd. Everyone's expecting maybe an announcement about a new sponsorship deal or her plans for the upcoming season. Instead, Lorena steps up to the microphone and says, "I'm retiring from professional golf." You could have heard a pin drop. At just 28 years old, with the golfing world at her feet, Lorena Ochoa was walking away from it all. It was like watching Tiger Woods quit golf in his prime. Unthinkable. But why? Why would the best golfer in the world, at the peak of her powers, suddenly decide to hang up her clubs? What the heck was happening? Well, at the press conference, Lorena gave her reasons. She wanted to start a family and focus on her charitable work. "I just want to be honest with all of you," she said. "I went to Asia, and after 2 or 3 days of being in Thailand, it was really easy to me. It was really clear to see that I didn't want to be out there, you know. I was just thinking of other things. I wanted to get home. I wanted to start working on the foundation. I wanted to be here close to my family." Noble reasons, sure. But was that the whole story? Was there more going on behind the scenes? Let's dig a little deeper. See, while Lorena always had a smile for the cameras, life on the LPGA Tour wasn't all rosy, sunshine, and rainbows. In fact, in her first year as a pro, she almost quit the game entirely. Yeah, didn't you know that? The great Lorena Ochoa, nearly calling it quits before she even got started. Why? Well, in her own words, "The good thing is trying to win a tournament, but the rest is exhausting. I was exhausted. I was working 46 weeks of the year. The constant travel, relentless practice, and the pressure to perform week in, week out, even for someone with Lorena's talent and work ethic, it was a grind. And as she climbed to the top of the golfing world, the pressure only intensified. More sponsor obligations, more media scrutiny, more expectations to live up to. It's like being on a treadmill that keeps getting faster and faster. Sure, you're in really great shape, but at some point you start wondering, is this really what I want to be doing? And that's exactly what happened to Lorena. As she was closer to 30 years old, she started to realize that her priorities were shifting. The all-consuming nature of professional golf just wasn't aligning with what she truly wanted anymore. But the thing is, she wasn't just saying goodbye to professional golf. She was also walking away from a huge, juicy prize. Lorena's decision to retire meant she wouldn't meet the LPGA's 10-year eligibility requirement for her induction into the Hall of Fame. So, yes, she was walking away from immortality in her sport, the sport she loved. That must have hurt. But when asked about it, Lorena's response was pure Lorena. Regardless the LPGA Hall of Fame rule, I say this is not going to change my mind because really what I felt in my heart was different and I was ready to start a family. That's what I call following your heart. In the end, Ochoa's decision to retire at the height of her powers was a deeply personal one. She had achieved her goal of becoming the world's best golfer, and then she was ready to embark on a new chapter of her life. One where she's a mom and philanthropist, more than just the best golfer in the world. In the years following her retirement, Ochoa has remained a respected and influential figure in the golfing world. She has continued her work with the Lorena Ochoa Foundation, which has expanded to include a primary school and high school in her hometown of Guadalajara. She's still involved in golf, too. She hosts an annual LPGA event, the Lorena Ochoa Invitational, at the very same Guadalajara Country Club where she first picked up a club as a 5-year-old. So, did Lorena Ochoa really walk away from the sport she loved? Or did she just find a different way to express that love? Despite her early retirement, Ochoa's legacy as one of the greatest female golfers of all time is secure. Her dominance on the LPGA Tour, her 2 major championships, and her unprecedented success as the world's #1 ranked player have cemented her place in the pantheon of golfing greats. And while her decision to step away from the sport may have surprised many, we have to applaud the sacrifices she's made to pursue and achieve her dreams. Lorena Ochoa stepped away from professional golf at the peak of her career, yes, but in doing so, she stepped into a life that, for her, was even more fulfilling. So, who got the ultimate victory here, right?